Hey everyone, Eric and Nelson here once again, and thank you for tuning into my YouTube channel. Well, I am back with another book review, which I will be reviewing Pam Funk's Operation Dark Angel. Yeah, here's the cover if you haven't seen the whole one. Yeah, there it is. So yeah, now in case you haven't seen my other reviews, here's why I have a copy of the book cover on a piece of paper. It's on my Kindle, and my Kindle is also on my laptop, which also has my webcam, and still I'm not fully equipped on how to piece them together to sort of like show this through the webcam. So until then, I am still, in fact, resorting to this method. So anyway, back to the book. Yeah, I think that this book is really good. In fact, a little scary though, and I'll explain why it's scary later on in the review. But before I get into the details of the book, I actually have a confession to make. I think I'm gonna read this book again because I'm just only because not because of the author. Pam Funk did a very good job writing it. And but so it's not her, it's actually me. I mean, I'm sure that all of you have read books where you had to read it another time, if not more than twice probably, because for some reason you just need to read it over again because you feel like you need a better understanding about it. So yeah, so that's why I'm going to read it again. Now you're probably all wondering, well, why are you reviewing it now when you want to read it again a second time? Well, it's because I also believe in initial reaction and initial responses, because even though they might be a little shallow or a little inaccurate, I think that first impressions are very important, even though if you don't understand it fully. So yeah, I think that in this case, an initial reaction and first impression is very important. And it's not that I don't understand the book; I understand the background story about it, which is actually very factual, but the centerfold is fictional, of course. Well, maybe not really, but so anyway, this book actually centers around a man named Nick Hicklotines, who is actually sort of, yeah, I'm sorry, his name is a little hard for me to pronounce, so sorry about that. But anyway, the book actually centers around a man named Hicklotines, who actually has an unusual birth where he's sort of born like how Jesus Christ was born. He was born to a virgin woman, and then after he grows up, he decides to enter politics, and but then he also goes into the art detecting business, and as he succeeds well within that business, he also starts to develop deadly weapons that the military have a sudden interest in, and then he sort of works with them, who I kind of sense are part of the military industrial complex. I mean, that was my reaction to these guys, but I don't know, I could be wrong. Well, once again, as I said, I have to read it again. So anyway, as he gets more involved with the military, he meets this one army general, Ludlow, who becomes very enthusiastic about his about Hicklotines' project, which is called Operation Dark Angel. Now, Ludlow, despite all the weapons that are involved, he still thinks, which I really don't understand why, he thinks that it's all about promoting world peace. When in fact it's not. Niclotine's main mission is to spread chaos. And it's not only him, but there are more people involved. And one of those people is the Almighty God. So I guess that is the frightening part that I had mentioned earlier, where this book is entertaining, but it's also very scary. I mean, of course, I know it's not all factual, but to me, it sort of is. And so, like, why I think it is a little factual is because I think that this book is almost like a parody or a satire without the comedy in it, of course, but it's like a parody of what's involved within war. Like, I think that, in the case of the United States, or maybe in other countries, I think that there's more to it. There's more to war than just simply defending your country and what your country stands for. I think that, and even I'm sure that even the author knows this too, but there's also money and religion, because certainly there are many businesses that profit from war, not just the military-industrial complex, but also people who work with the military, which is what some of the art detecting business is profits from, as well as banks and everything. But of course, religion as well. Religion has another big part within wars. And to me, this Operation Dark Angel is almost like, I think that it's very similar to this one other book that I read that was written by this one Army General, Smedley Butler, which was called War is a Racket. He actually wrote it, I think, in the late 30s. He was a World War One veteran who had won 2 Congressional Medals of Honor. 2 Congressional Medals of Honor. And in the book, he wrote, "I didn't fight for America's freedom. I fought for the American Fruit Corporation." So that right there kind of says that, geez, maybe even before the CIA or the MI6 was created, a lot of businesses were profiting from war. And of course, religion played a good part in it as well. So, yeah, I mean, I guess that when wars happen, we have to know, is it really just about the country and what the country stands for? In my opinion, it's not. I think that there's a lot more to it than meets the eye, or what's being presented in the media. But within this form of media, Pam Funk's Operation Dark Angel, I think that all of I think that if you want to know about war, first I think you ought to take a look at General Smedley Butler's book, War is a Racket. But it's all informative, though. So if you want a lot of information, check that book out. But at the same time, if you want some information and to be entertained as well, check, particularly about war and how money and religion is involved, check out Pam Funk's Operation Dark Angel. All right, so thanks for listening, everybody, and I hope to see you at the bookstore very soon.